Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi and good morning to our audience, our viewers. Welcome to our second session of the day, BMJ online workshop. I am Azhari Sahamir, Senior Librarian Perpustakaan Hospital Chancellor Tunku Mufris, as a moderator for this session. Before we start, there are a few housekeeping messages that I would like to remind. Number one, Q&A will be after the session. You may ask the questions by writing it under the live chat comments throughout the session. Our admin will collect the questions. Number two, this workshop is being recorded and will be available at Perpustakaan Pusat Perubatan UKM Facebook for future viewing. Number three, the BMJ slide presentation will be available at our library portal. It will be under Researcher's Guide. Number four, a link for e-spell form will be available at description and comment section. The registration will be valid until 12:35 p.m. Without further delay, I would like to welcome our presenter, Lena Kashef, BMJ Marketing Manager Asia Pacific from Sydney, Australia. Today, she will cover how each resource can support your learning and teaching, navigation tips and tricks, access options on-site, remote and mobile, how to get published in BMJ case reports using the PPUKM fellowship code. Are you ready, Elena?
Thank you very much.
Okay, over to you, Elena.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So hello, everyone. My name is Elena Kalsef, as Azari said, and I'm the Marketing Manager for BMJ based in Sydney, Australia. So thank you very much for joining me in this session today, and thank you to the library for inviting me to participate as well. So I'm just going to share my screen with you. Please bear with me. Okay, I hope you can all see my screen right now. So a little bit of housekeeping. So this session should take about an hour. And as Azari said, there will be time for questions at the end. And I will share the presentation slides with the library to pass on to you via the library website. So please don't feel like you need to take a lot of notes today. These will be shared with you later on. So what I'm going to do is cover some of the BMJ resources that are available to you through the UKM library today. So I'm going to start with BMJ Case Reports, which is actually the world's largest online repository of clinical cases. And UKM has an institutional fellowship to this resource, which means that you can submit your own case reports free of charge to be published on the Case Reports website. So I'll give you some tips for how you can get published in this as well. I'll then move on to discuss BMJ Best Practice, which is our clinical decision support tool. And I'll finish up by giving you a little bit of a reminder about the BMJ quiz that you can enter until the end of the week. And then we'll move on to a question and answer session. All right, so this is what the Case Reports website looks like. And I'm just going to start by giving those of you who may not be familiar with Case Reports a little bit of an introduction to it. So it is the largest single collection of medical cases in the world. It's online only. We've now been publishing for about 12 years. And in that time, we have published more than 20,000 case reports from over 120 countries around the world. So our mission with Case Reports is to provide a very sort of invaluable educational resource for all healthcare professionals, including medical students. And what we're aiming to do is publish cases that aren't necessarily novel or rare. They can be common, but the most important thing is that they provide clinically important lessons that will be relevant to our readers. So all of the cases are peer reviewed, and the published cases are indexed in the usual places that I've listed on the screen there. One of the great things about Case Reports is that it does provide a fantastic introduction to medical publishing. So it's a perfect tool for medical students or for those who might just be new to the world of medical publishing. We have quite a high acceptance rate, as you can see on the screen there. It was about 54% last year. And we also have quite a quick turnaround time. So it only takes about 2.5 months from the time you first submit your paper to when it's published on the website. So what are some of the benefits of Case Reports? So it is, as I've said, an invaluable learning and teaching tool. So we have such a vast database of real-world clinical scenarios that you can learn from if you're a student, or that you can also use to teach if you're an academic staff member. You're welcome to reuse any materials on the website personally, so you can use them in your presentations or your reports, assignments, if you are a student, or you can use them in your teaching as well without any further permissions. So we offer you the ability to easily download images straight into PowerPoint presentations. So I'll demonstrate this a little bit later on, which is quite a handy feature. And we also include learning points or take-home messages at the end of each case. So it really is a fantastic educational tool. And the other benefit, as I've already touched on as well, is that it does provide a supportive introduction to medical publishing for first-time authors or for medical students. So I know a lot of medical students will have to write a case report as part of their studies. So this gives you the opportunity to get your work published and recognised around the world. Using the UKM Fellowship Code, you can submit as many case reports as you like. We have very simple submission steps that you can follow and a lot of guides and templates available to you to help you get published. Our editorial team, who are based in London, are very supportive of our authors, and they will provide advice to you after you've submitted and lots of feedback on your paper to get you published. So it's a sympathetic peer review process, and as I said, you will be published within a matter of months. So this is a tool for all healthcare professionals, not just doctors. This is a list of the main clinical specialties that we cover, but within this you'll also see that we cover areas like dentistry, nursing, pharmacology, a whole range of different areas there. And we also cover non-clinical areas too, so perhaps more relevant to health sciences, areas like public health, statistics, health economics, ethics, all sorts of areas. And I'll show you how you can browse these different specialties a little bit later on. In terms of the types of cases that we publish, so there are three main types of cases that we publish on the website. The first one is just a standard full text case, but we also publish very popular images cases. So these are just one or two striking or clinically important images that are accompanied by a brief description. And then finally, we have a global health case type as well. So these are on topics such as refugee health, e-health, telemedicine, those sorts of areas. Once you've selected from those three types of cases, you'll then be asked to categorize your case. So in the table, you can see the different categories that we have available. So you'll see that there is a category there on medical student electives, that may be relevant to some of you. If you are practicing, then some of the more popular topics include a reminder of important clinical lesson, unusual presentation of a more common disease or injury, unexpected outcome, rare disease. There's a whole range of different categories that you can choose. So I just wanted to highlight some of the recent cases that have been published by your colleagues at UKM. So this is one here, and sorry, I know it's a little bit difficult to see on the screen, but I have included a link at the bottom so you can go and explore this in more detail later on. But that is one case there, and here's another one, massive upper gastrointestinal bleeding. That was also published recently from UKM, and another one here as well. So you're most welcome to explore these after the presentation today, once you've got these slides. In terms of access options, you can access case reports both on and off campus. So if you are on campus, you can simply go straight to casereports.bmj.com from within the UKM network, or you can access via the library website. So in the library menu, you'll see this screen here. You have the e-resources section in campus. If you just click on that drop-down menu, you still see BMJ case reports listed as one of the resources there. You can also access off campus. So all you have to do again is go to the library website and then log in via your off-campus login details, and you'll then be able to get straight through to the website as well. Okay, so I'm just going to go across to the live website now and show you how you can browse and search for cases. Okay, so I hope you can all see the website on my screen at the moment. So this is the case reports homepage, and I'm just going to start by highlighting some of the features here. So you'll see at the top of the page there is a search bar. So you can use this to search for a particular topic. You can also search for by country or by your institution name, for example, if you wanted to see what else has been published from UKM. Underneath that search bar, you'll see that there is a browse feature here. So you can browse cases by your specialty area. You can look at the latest content that's been published, the most read cases. You can also see any replies that have been submitted to cases, or you can filter by cases with videos and images. If I scroll down a little bit, I'll come on to this a bit later, but if you are interested in publishing in case reports, there's comprehensive instructions for authors available via this link. And once you're ready to submit, you can do so via this submit button here. On the right-hand side here, we have a spotlight section. So at the moment, this is highlighting some of the cases that we've published on COVID. So you might be interested in taking a look at this. We have published quite a lot of cases now. I think there's about 9 or 10 pages that you can browse from here. If I go back and scroll down again, so I mentioned that case reports are available in lots of different specialty areas. So some of the more popular, I suppose, specialties are listed here, but you can view the full list by clicking on this button. So this gives you all the topics and specialty categories. So if you were a medical student and you were studying cardiology, you might be interested in just having a little browse of the cardiology cases that we've published. So you could click on that link and then scroll through. Okay, back to the home page again. On the right-hand side here, so this is altmetrics. So this shows which cases are getting a lot of attention online at the moment. So either via social media mentions or via mentions on news sites. So you can see this particular article here has received 241 mentions recently, so very popular, getting a lot of attention online. So that's a good way to monitor the sort of attention that your case report is receiving as well. If I scroll down here, you'll see the most read cases listed at the bottom here. So unsurprisingly, a COVID case is one of the most popular at the moment. And then on the left-hand side, you have a Q&A section. So what we do every so often is we'll publish a new Q&A feature. So this is an educational feature that will be of interest to both students and teachers. So lecturers, professors, you're welcome to use these in your course materials. So if I click on the Test Your Knowledge button, this is a pathology question. So what you're asked to do is read a case. So there's a link to the case that you have to read here on breast cancer, and then you're presented with a series of questions that you can answer, and the full explanations are provided underneath as well. Okay, back to the home page again. Now what I'm going to do is show you what an actual article page looks like. So I'll use this COVID case as an example, and I'll just open that up. Okay, so you land on the article page, which looks like this. So each case report follows a consistent structure. So at the top of the page, you can view the type of case that it is. So this one is about an unusual association of diseases or symptoms. You can view information on the authors here and also their affiliations. You can contact them. So if you have a question for them, their email addresses are published. You can correspond with the authors. You can download a PDF version of the article if you prefer. So that looks like this. I go back to the website again. Scrolling down, you've got the online version of the article as well. So a few things to highlight here. You have the abstract at the top. Altmetrics that I mentioned earlier, you can view that summary here. So this particular article has been tweeted a couple of times. Scrolling down, you will see various figures, images, tables, diagrams that may be included in the case reports. As I said, you're welcome to use these either in your personal learning materials or presentations or teaching materials as well. So you can download the images by clicking on these buttons here. You can also download the image straight into a PowerPoint presentation. So I'll just demonstrate that now. If If you click the button, it will open up in a PowerPoint slide. It looks like this. So it already gives you the title of the image and the reference. So that's very easy just to copy and paste into your own presentations or your own lecture materials. Okay, just go back to the website again. And if I just scroll down further, so the rest of the article, but once you get to the bottom of the article, you will see the learning points are highlighted in a little box like this. So this is where you're really getting all of your educational value from this resource. And what we do is we highlight 3 to 5 key take-home messages that will be of value to either your study or your practice. So that's a very handy feature of case reports. And then, of course, at the bottom, you will see any acknowledgements, competing interests, and a full list of the references as well. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to the presentation now and give you some tips on how you can get published in case reports. So if you are interested in getting published, I've just listed some handy hints on this slide. So these orange, this orange text all has links on it, so you can click through to these support materials once you get the slides. We have a very handy 10 quick tips for getting published flyer, which summarizes all of the support materials that are available to you. So I recommend using that as a starting point if you're interested in getting published. We also recommend knowing what the editors are looking for. So I mentioned that the most important thing with case reports is that your case has some important clinical lessons. It has to have that educational value for readers. So please do take a look at the author instructions and the author FAQs that are published on our website. They've got lots of handy hints there for you. We also recommend getting onto the website and exploring some of the cases that have been published to get a feel for what the editors are looking for, what they consider to be a good quality case. We have a comprehensive guide to writing and publishing a case report available as well, which takes you through the template that you need to complete a case report and gives you lots of hints on each section. We do have templates available that you will be required to complete for your chosen case type, so whether it's the full case, the images case, or the global health case. So these provide a lot of guidance and take you through sort of in a step-by-step way through completing that form. Please use simple language and grammar. We do have English language editing services available as well from BMJ Author Services. So you can take a look at the website I've linked there if you're interested in that offer. Do seek help from your senior colleagues if you're a medical student. We also recommend having a look on the website and seeing which of your colleagues have been published from UKM. You can approach them to ask for advice or perhaps to review your paper. That's always a really good place to start. There are lots more tips available on our BMJ Author Hub in terms of formatting your paper and how to reference and that sort of thing. So do take a look at that as well. So I've already touched on this, but just to highlight, so what the editors are looking for. The most important thing is that healthcare workers, so including medical students and junior doctors, must find your case to be relevant, engaging, and a valuable learning resource. So your case has to have valuable clinical or ethical lessons. It doesn't have to be a rare case, it can be common, but as long as it presents some sort of diagnostic or ethical or management challenge, or if it has some sort of pitfall to learn from, that's sort of what we're looking for. So each case report follows a consistent structure, as I mentioned. So you'll be asked to complete these 9 different sections when you're completing your template. So I'll just briefly talk through each of these. I won't spend a lot of time going through them, but I'll give you some points that you should consider later on when you're putting your paper together. So firstly, the title and abstract. So just a couple of practical hints. You don't need to include case report in your title. We recommend that you keep it clinical and straightforward. Make it easily searchable. So people are going to be searching for topics. You want yours to show up in the search result. So include all of those keywords in your title. The abstract will be freely available online, and you have up to 150 words to summarize your case and any of the key learning points. The next section is background. So this is all about why you think your case is important. So why did you write it up? Why will it be important to readers? Is it a prevalent health problem? And is there a clear message that you're trying to get across? So just 1 or 2 paragraphs on this is enough. We then move on to the case presentation. So we ask that you remember this is the patient story, so please be sensitive to patient confidentiality. I will cover patient confidentiality a little bit later. We do have a consent form available that you will need to submit with your paper. But in this section, you can cover things like the presenting features, the medical, social, or family history. How did your patient present? What is the relevant history and why is this relevant? And then you can explain your findings and how they influenced your decision. And we ask that you don't use any abbreviations for diseases or investigations here. You can include any figures as well that you like. Next, we move on to investigations. So you can include these if relevant. All investigations that create a background picture are relevant. And we also ask that investigations that are crucial to management decisions should be discussed in full in this section. So again, you can include appropriate images and videos to illustrate any of your points, but please do maintain patient confidentiality with these. Moving on to differential diagnosis, again, you can include this if relevant, but rather than listing, we ask that you show sort of a narrative about how the final diagnosis was derived. It doesn't have to be long, just a paragraph or so, but you can also include what the consequences to the management or treatment of the differential diagnosis were. Next, we move on to the treatment, outcome and follow-up section of the case report. So here you can include both pharmacological and non-pharmacological treatment. We ask that you include any follow-up data where you can to show the outcome of the treatment and that you also state the follow-up period. And we also ask that you state if the patient has died, even if it's not directly relevant to your case. Right, moving on to one of the last sections, which is discussion. So in this section, you can include a very brief review of any similar published cases. You can also describe things like the mechanisms of the injury, any guidelines and their relevance, diagnostic pathways, and any of the key points of interest in the case. So a brief summary of relevant clinical guidelines is appropriate to include. So if you had to make any exceptions to the guidelines or if you had to adapt the guidelines, you can include all of that in this particular section. And then finally, the most important section of your case report is learning points. So these, as I mentioned earlier, these are the take-home messages for the readers. So this is in a bullet point format rather than paragraphs. So you have 3 to 5 bullet points to explain your take-home messages. It is a compulsory field. As I said, this is the most crucial part of the case. It's, telling readers what you want them to remember when they're seeing their own patients. There are a few other sections that you will need to include with your paper. So any references, we ask for these in Vancouver style. Any captions for videos or figures that you've included in your paper. And you also have the option of including a patient's perspective. So this is just a quote from your patient where they give a bit of a summary of their perspective or their experience. It's not compulsory, but it's an optional section that you can include. Okay, so moving on to research and publishing ethics. So as I mentioned, you must have a signed informed consent from patients or from a relative or guardian before you submit your case report. So this is just an example on the screen here of a consent form. Please anonymise the patient's details as much as you can in the report itself. We do have consent forms available in 19 different languages and you can download them from the link on the screen here. Okay, so once you're ready and you've got your paper prepared, I'm now just going to give you a walkthrough of how you can actually submit it on the Case Reports website. So there are 3 easy steps to submit your case. The first one is to complete the template. So whether it's a full text case, an images case, or a global health case. You then get your signed patient consent form. And once you've got those 2 things, you're ready to submit online. So This is the home page here that you can see on the screen, and I showed you before that submit button that you can access from the home screen. So all you have to do is click on that, click on submit a case report, and the first step is to register on our submission system, which is Scholar One. So you'll be asked to create an account. You can do that from this button, and you'll be asked to create a username and a password. It's just a 3-step process. It's very simple. Once you've got that all set up, you can log in to the Scholar One submission system, like so. So enter your username and password, click login, and then navigate to this author section. So that's your author dashboard. So if you click on that in the menu, and at this point, you can then start a new submission. So just click on the begin submission button here. So it's a 6-step process, and you'll be guided through it. There's a lot of sort of helpful tips along the way. You'll be asked during the submission process to upload the paper itself and also your patient consent form. And the most important thing is to enter your institutional fellowship code. So you'll be able to do this in step 5. Sorry, I know it's a little bit difficult to see on this screen, but step 5, details and comments, there is a funding section at the bottom of this section. And in that section, you can enter the UKM fellowship code, which is 862406. I've got this published a little bit bigger on a slide to follow. You can also get this from your librarian later on if you like. And then once you've got everything entered into the form, you can simply click submit, and that will then be sent off to our editorial team. And they'll review the paper and then get back to you within a matter of weeks, usually, with any feedback, the first draft. So this again, just to highlight, is the UKM Institutional Fellowship Code. Please also make sure that you'll be asked to enter your institution name. Please make sure that you have UKM somewhere in your institution name so that you can be correctly identified as being part of the institution. That'd be wonderful, thank you. Okay, so that's case reports. Very quick introduction. I will take some questions at the end of the session, but also if you do have any questions later on, I've got my email address published on the last slide, so you can always send me any questions if you have during the submission process while you're putting your paper together. I'd be happy to help out. Okay, so moving on to best practice now. So this is our clinical decision support tool. So to begin, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. So best practice is a generalist point of care tool, which is uniquely structured around the patient consultation with advice on symptom evaluation, test ordering, and treatment approach. So it was actually ranked one of the best clinical decision support tools for health professionals worldwide in a study that was published a few years ago in the Journal of Medical Internet Research. And that study looked at things including the breadth of disease coverage, the editorial quality, and the evidence-based methodology. So we ranked equal first with UpToDate and Dynamed. We've also scored highest in an independent study of diagnostic decision support tools. This was run by New South Wales Health, which is one of the state health departments here in Australia. And that study called best practice the most appropriate tool for the clinical setting. I do have links to both of these papers at the bottom of this slide if you wanted to have a read of them later on. Actually, before I move on, I'll just highlight how best practice differs from some of the other clinical decision support tools that are available. So the first thing to mention is that it is a generalist tool. So this isn't a specialist tool necessarily. We aim to cover the most commonly encountered conditions that are seen in practice, so both in primary and secondary care. Because of this, it's really a perfect tool for medical students. It covers all of the topics that you're going to be studying in the curriculum. And it's also suitable for a multidisciplinary audience. So not just doctors, but also nurses, pharmacists, all types of healthcare professionals. The other key difference is our content structure. So I did mention that all of the content is structured around the patient consultation or the clinical workflow, but we also don't have big, long articles that you have to read through and that can take a lot of time to find what you need. What we aim to do is break up all of the information into lots of headings and subheadings. We use lots of tables, bullet points, bold text just to make it very quick and easy to find the information that you need. But you then do have the option to dive deeper into that information if you want more detail. So it gives you the option to drill down if you like. So how does best practice support students? So medical students, pharmacy, health sciences, it's used by all types of students. There are three key ways that it's used. Firstly, as a reference tool. So it can support problem-based or case-based learning. So for example, if a lecturer asked you to write provided a medical case scenario and asked you to write a report on how to assess and manage a patient, you could refer to best practice to help you write that report. It's also used as a revision resource to prepare for exams. So we have basic information about all the common conditions that are seen in practice, but you can also drill down to get more detailed information and things like a step-by-step guide to diagnosis and management. So all of these are very handy when revising for exams. It's also used as a decision support tool. So if you're on a clinical placement or a clinical rotation, we have an app available. And this is available offline as well. So if you're on the wards and you don't have internet access, it's very handy just to have the app in your pocket and you can refer to it very easily without an internet connection if you need a second opinion on something. We're also told by medical students that in particular our diagnosis or differential diagnosis and treatment algorithms are particularly useful for medical students. Okay. And in terms of how does it support academics? So again, the three key ways that it is used. Firstly, as a teaching aid, as I've already mentioned, so to support problem-based learning. But you can also use it to produce any supporting lecture materials or presentations. So there are lots of images and case histories that you're welcome to use in best practice. And if you're involved in teaching evidence-based medicine, we have a very handy evidence-based medicine toolkit that I'll talk about a little bit later, with lots of articles written by leading experts in evidence-based medicine, sort of covering the fundamentals of evidence-based medicine. If you're involved in research, it can also be used as a starting point for this. So the EBM toolkit that I've just mentioned, we also partner with Cochrane Clinical Answers and integrate these into best practice. So these are sort of short, concise summaries of the Cochrane systematic reviews, and they're in a Q&A format. So they're designed to give sort of quick, practical answers to clinical questions. We also have new evidence tables, grade tables that are linked to selected topics in best practice that I'll show you shortly. And of course, every topic includes a reference page with full text links to any research articles. It's also used as a personal CPD, so continuing professional development and decision support tool for academics who are practicing as well. So can keep you up to date, support your own clinical practice, and you can use it to track CPD. So if you have a best practice account, which I'll show you how to set up soon, once you're logged in, the website will automatically track which pages that you've looked at, and you can then download certificates and claim CPD points and things like that. So just to highlight some of the top features for these different user groups, so medical and health science students, I'll cover all of these when I do the demo. Differential diagnosis, our treatment algorithms, step-by-step guides. We have medical calculators and procedural videos as well that are very useful. The EBM toolkit that I've mentioned and the app. So those are sort of the key features for medical and health science students. Academics, again, if you're teaching EBM, all of our evidence resources like the toolkit, the Cochrane Clinical Answers, the evidence tables. You can use things like the case histories and images in best practice in your own materials. We have PDF downloads available as well, which are nice to reference. All of the full reference links included, and then the CPD tracking for your own personal learning too. Pharmacy students, if we have any pharmacy students with us today, the sections that will be most relevant for you are the treatment algorithms. So these show the various treatment pathways for different patient groups and include prescribing information as well. We also have patient leaflets available in best practice, which you can give to your patients to help explain their treatment. And we are also integrated with the Martindale Drug Formulary. So each of the topic pages links through to relevant prescribing information in Martindale. Before I move on to the demo, I just want to very briefly cover the types of topic pages that are available in best practice. So we have 3 different types of topic pages that you can use in different ways. So the first one is an assessment topic. So you can use these to evaluate a symptom, a clinical finding, or a diagnostic test finding. So this is an example here on the screen of the table of contents for an assessment topic. So each assessment topic has this consistent structure. So this table of contents will always appear at the top of your page, and you can then click on the various headings and subheadings to find the most appropriate information that you need. Whether it's the theory, so the etiology, you might want to look at some urgent considerations, you might want to look at the differentials, or some diagnostic guidelines, for example. All of this information can be accessed from your assessment topic. The next topic page is the condition topic. So this one provides comprehensive information on a specific condition or a group of conditions. And most of the content in best practice does take the form of a condition topic. So the example here for STEMI, you can see that all of the headings and subheadings are structured around that patient journey. So starts with a little bit of an overview, some of the background theory in terms of the epidemiology, etiology, and it then takes you through from diagnosis to management and follow-up. So you could click on the section that you're interested in, and that table of contents will always stay at the top of your page, so it's easy to navigate around. And then finally, the last topic page is the overview topic, which provides a summary of a category of conditions. So these are particularly useful for study, for teaching as well. So this particular example here is for diabetes. So I'll show you where you can find all of these topic types on the website in a moment. Before I do, just to touch on the access option. So how can you get to best practice? If you're on campus, so it's similar to case reports, you can access via the UKM Medical Centre Library website under the e-resources in campus menu. So you'll see best practices just there above case reports. If you are on campus, you can also just go straight to the best practice website if you're within the network, the IP network. So 2 different options. If you're off campus, there are a couple of different options for you. Again, you can access via the library off-campus sign-in, or you can register for a personal account while you're on campus via the pop-up box that you will get on your screen that looks like this. So this just asks you to enter your email address and create a password. It's a very simple process. Once you've got this set up, it will recognise you as being part of UKM, and you could just go straight to the best practice website wherever you are in the world in the future and simply log in with those details to get the full access. Once you've got this account set up, it also means that you can download and use our app. Okay. So the app is available on both iOS and Android devices. It's a really good app. We get a lot of good feedback about it. It's rated higher than any of the other clinical decision support apps that are available. It's fast to download. It just takes a few minutes, and it's a small size, so it doesn't take up too much of your storage space. And as I mentioned earlier, it is available to use offline after you've done the initial content download. So very handy if you're on the wards or somewhere in a hospital or on placement that doesn't have internet connection. It will update daily in the background, so any updates will be automatically downloaded to your phone. So as I said, to access the app, you can simply download it from the App Store or Google Play and then log in with your registered email address and password that you've created on the best practice site. You will see that the content downloads. There's a progress bar, but it will take about 5 minutes maximum to download and be ready to go on your phone. Okay, so I'm now just going to go across to the website and give you a quick demonstration. Okay, I hope you can see the best practice homepage on your screen. So I'm going to talk through some of the key features and functionality that will be relevant to you all now. So you'll see again at the top of the page there is a search bar. So you can search for a condition, a symptom. You could search for multiple symptoms as well using this search bar. But what I also want to highlight here is this navigation menu. So this is this blue horizontal bar that runs across the middle of the page here. I'm going to talk you through each of these icons. So the first one is recent updates. So from here you can view any of the recent updates to the topics within best practice. So via the all updates filter, you can just view a chronological list of any updates that have been made. But we also have an important updates filter. So these important updates are sort of the practice changing updates that you can't afford to miss. So things like changes to guidelines or any changes to drug recommendations, etc. You can view these on the topic pages themselves as well. So if I click on this COVID-19 topic, just to give you an example, you will see that important updates are highlighted on your summary page here via this pink important updates icon. So you can then click through to any relevant materials, whether it's a guideline or whatever it is here, and you can just close that box once you've finished. I just go back again. You can also view updates by specialty area in this filter here. So again, cardiology. There was an update published to this page. Just wanted to highlight here, you'll see each topic page has a last reviewed date and also a last updated date. So we are constantly reviewing all of the content in best practice. It's a continuous updating process. The last reviewed date is the date that the content was checked. The last updated date is the date that a change was last made. Okay, so that's the difference between those. Moving on, you'll see that navigation moves to the top of your page as you're browsing the site. The next icon is specialties. So we have 29 different specialty areas covered in best practice. So you can browse these here. This is particularly useful if you're studying or teaching a particular topic. So if you were teaching neurology, you could just click on that topic to view an A to Z listing of all of the topics, or you can view emergency topics as well via this filter. I go back to the main specialties page again. Just to highlight here, we have at the end, under this line, we have all of the assessment topics that I mentioned earlier and all of the overview topics available to browse via these two links. All of the condition monographs tend to be divided into these specialty areas here. Next, we have medical calculators. So we have close to 500 of these available on the website. You can view an A to Z listing here. You can search for a particular calculator or you can browse by specialty again. We also integrate these calculators into the relevant topic pages of best practice. So you'll see a little calculator symbol throughout the text that you can click on to get to any relevant calculator. So if I just click on one to show you, predicting stroke risk. So it's just a form with check boxes, and then you'll get your result at the bottom. And it's got notes on how to interpret the score and then also references as well. So that's calculators. Next, we have comorbidities. Now, this is a bit of a sneak peek for you. This is a brand new feature that we've just launched in best practice. It is a subscription add-on, but we do have it activated for 2 topics in best practice at the moment. So I wanted to show you briefly. So you'll be able to view our new comorbidities tool in our COVID-19 topic and also our acute exacerbation of COPD topic. And what this comorbidities tool does is it takes a patient's comorbidities into account. So when you go to view the treatment algorithm, the treatment guidance within best practice, you'll be presented with this pop-up box where you're able to add any of these common comorbidities to your treatment algorithm. And it will then present you with a customized treatment algorithm that takes these comorbidities into account. So you can see there are things like hypertension, coronary artery disease, heart failure, stroke, diabetes. So you simply check your patient's comorbidities and then click Show Treatment Algorithm. And it will present you with a tailored management plan for your patient. So what you can do is expand this treatment algorithm, and you'll see this little C symbol next to some of the treatment lines. If you expand that, it shows you how you need to alter your management due to the patient's comorbidities. So this is some information on the diabetes comorbidity here. So next we have patient leaflets. So we have close to 500 patient leaflets available on the website. They're all in PDF format. They're written in simple English. You can search them from here, but you can also get to those patient leaflets through the relevant topic pages. So I'll highlight that a little bit later on, just to show you what they look like. So very simple, just a couple of pages long, simple English. They're all accredited by the Information Standard as well, which is part of the NHS in the UK that is responsible for ensuring patient information is of a good quality. So they're all accredited. And they're also reviewed by BMJ's patient panel as well. Next we have videos. So this is a fantastic feature, a fantastic learning tool. We have 26 of these videos available, and what they are short 3D animated videos showing how to perform common medical and surgical techniques. So just show you this one, pocket mask ventilation. So I won't play the video now, but each video is just a couple of minutes long, and it's accompanied by the supporting information that you need to perform the technique. So information on the equipment that's needed, any indications or contraindications, also information on possible complications and aftercare. And it includes references as well. So this is a really handy learning tool for you. Next, we have evidence. So I spoke a little bit about evidence before. There are different types of evidence available in best practice. So we have evidence tables that are available in selected topics. So I'll show you an example of one of these for our diabetes topic. Okay, so you can get to the evidence under the evidence tab here, under the resources heading, but we also include evidence information in the treatment algorithm and the treatment management approach sections too here. So from this page, you can view the clinical questions here, and you can then expand those to view the evidence scores, the PICO, and also the grade table with all of the outcomes listed, and then BMJ's effectiveness score, and also the grade labels as well. So you can click on the question marks for explanations of all of those scores. You can also click through to view the full source guideline as well. And then if I scroll down, you'll see this particular topic also has some Cochrane clinical answers that are linked or relevant to the topic. So again, the clinical questions, and if you're interested in reading the answer, you can click on the link, and this will link you out to the Cochrane website where you can find a lot of detailed information. It's just loading. Okay, so here you've got your clinical question, the clinical answer, and so on, other information that you can access. Okay, just click on evidence again. So those are the evidence tables. We also have the EBM toolkit that I mentioned. So a great resource for learning and teaching EBM. So if you click on the link, it will take you to the EBM toolkit. From here, you can view a whole range of articles on developing EBM skills. So as I mentioned, these are all written by leading experts worldwide in evidence-based medicine. So things like what is EBM, how to clarify a clinical question, what is grade, appraising the evidence. There's a whole range of of articles that you can access here. So if I click on what is great, just to show you an example, you'll see they're quite comprehensive and lots of supporting diagrams and figures, and also the references are listed at the bottom for further reading. Okay. And then Cochrane Clinical Answers. So as I mentioned, or you've seen, we integrate these into the topic pages, but you can also click on this link just to go straight to the Cochrane Clinical Answers website, and you can browse all of the content from there as well. And then finally, the last link here is drugs. So I mentioned that you are able to access Martindale from within UKM. We do have linking options available to many different drug formularies. Martindale is the one that you are able to access from within UKM. Okay, so that's an explanation of all of the icons in the navigation bar. I'm now just very briefly going to show you a topic page of best practice and talk you through a couple of different areas of this. Okay, so this example here is for ischemic stroke. So this is our topic page. You can see again at the top, you've got your table of contents structured around the patient journey. So I've landed on a summary page. You can see the last reviewed and last updated dates here. Got a summary with links to the various, or some of the headlines, so you can click on these for further information, sort of to drill down into more detail. What you can also do is view any of these subheadings. So whether it's a theory that you're interested in, I mentioned case histories. So anyone involved in teaching, you're welcome to use these case history examples in your materials. There's also information on epidemiology, etiology. The diagnosis section is very useful. So you've got diagnostic recommendations here. So this provides a real narrative or step-by-step guide to diagnosis. So very useful for study and revision for students. So it outlines any urgent considerations, key recommendations, but then you can drill down to view full recommendations as well. Okay. So you can expand the table to view further information. You've also got information on history and examination. So you can view key diagnostic factors, other diagnostic factors. This is all presented in table format of bullet points, so you can simply click to expand or contract on the points that you're interested in. You can also view information on investigations of tests to order and any notes on the results. You'll see that any red flags or pitfalls are highlighted with these pin symbols as well. So just important bits of information to note. We have images as well throughout. And then probably the most popular part of best practice is the differentials page. So you've got your differentials table. Again, you can expand any of these sections of the table, or you can click view all to expand the whole thing. Moving on to management. So again, you have a step-by-step narrative on the management approach here with lots of detail. Or you can view the treatment algorithm, which I've already briefly mentioned. So again, you'll see the comorbidities tool is available for this particular topic. You can dismiss it if you're not interested. So the treatment algorithm gives you the different treatment pathways for various patient groups. So the initial patient group, the acute patient group, but then you also have subgroups within this. So for example, with our acute patients, presentation within 4.5 hours, presentation after 4.5 hours. So you can expand those to see the various treatment lines. So like so, and you'll then see any drug options highlighted in a box that looks like this, and you can then click on that drug name and it will take you to the full drug page in Martindale. So that's just loading. Okay, like so. I know I'm running out of time, so just to finish up, there's a section on follow-up as well. So particularly useful to nursing staff, for example, information on monitoring the patient, possible complications that may arise, and prognosis. And then you have the resources section. So from here, you can view any guidelines, international guidelines, both diagnostic and management. So they are grouped by region. So Europe, you have your NICE guidelines, also have the US, Asia Pacific, etc. You can view any relevant images and videos from here. So these also appear within the various sections of this topic page, but there's a summary available here, a full list of the references if you wanted to do further reading. So key articles and also the full reference links. And then you've got any relevant patient leaflets here, and also the medical calculators and a summary of the evidence. Okay. So that is a very quick tour of BMJ best practice. I'll just go back to the presentation again. Sorry, to finish up. Sorry. Okay, so that pretty much brings me to the end. Before we go on to questions, just to mention that we do have a little quiz that's available for you to complete until the end of this week. So it's a very simple quiz. I think there's 8 or 9 questions. You can find the answers in BMJ Best Practice, and we'll then be selecting 5 winners to win a Starbucks voucher. So please do enter that if you like, and we'll be contacting the winners via email next Monday. Okay, so I think we're ready for any questions. So please feel free to type in any questions if you have them.
Lena.
Hi.
A question here from Rosinda.
Sure.
Do we have to create personal account in BMJ case report to publish our paper and use the UKM fellowship code, or do we have any UKM admin to assist?
Right. Okay. So we do ask that you do it yourself if possible. So you will need to create your own personal account on the BMJ Case Reports website and then input that UKM fellowship code. I'm available to provide any support that you need during that submission process. So I'll show you my email address again in a moment. But yes, just to remind you, I'm just going to share my screen again to show you how you can create that personal account. Okay, so I'm on the Case Reports website now. So on the home page, you simply click this Submit a Case Report button. And at this point, you can click on this Create an Account link. So it is a simple process. It's a 3-step process to get your account. And then actually submitting your manuscript is a 6-step process. But there are templates and guides to support you. If you do have any issues, please do send me an email. I'm happy to help. My email address is in the slides that will be circulated as well. Okay, I hope that helps.
We still keep receiving these questions. Is there any limits the fellowship code for PPOKM, and how many case reports for a person can use the code?
Sure. So there's no limits. You can submit as many cases as you want using the UKM fellowship code. So that, yes, so that's that part. And then, sorry, what was the other part of the question? How many, is there a limit on the authors?
Or for a person can use the code? Still no
How
limit?
many no, there's no limits, no limits. It's unlimited use. Yeah. So as many as you like.
Okay, how long do BMJ process the case reports after we submit?
So it's anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks to do the initial review, editorial review. The editorial team is very busy at the moment because they've been receiving a lot of papers about COVID and they are fast tracking those papers. So please give it about, say, 4 weeks. If you haven't heard anything then, you can follow up with the editorial team. So there is an email address that's published on the Case Reports website. I think it's just editorial, well, let me check. I think it's casereports@bmj.com, something like that. I might have to just double check. But you should get it in the confirmation email once you submit your report, and then you can just follow up with them if you haven't heard anything. But yes, that process takes between 2 and 4 weeks.
Okay, I think, okay, another question from Dr. Pobikun. What is the rejection rate for BMJ case reports and best practice?
Yep, okay. So BMJ case reports, we have the average acceptance rate for 2019 was 54%. So we're rejecting about just under half of cases. I mean, compared to the BMJ, which has an acceptance rate of only about 10%, it is quite a high acceptance rate for case reports. Best practice doesn't, it's more of a clinical decision support tool, so you're not able to submit your own papers through best practice, so it doesn't have a rejection rate as such. It's more of a tool that you can use in your teaching and your learning.
Okay. I think that is the end of our Q&A session and our session today.
Thank you very much. That's
Thank
great.
you,
I hope
Elena.
that's been useful for everyone, but please, if there are any questions later on, please feel free to send me an email. I'm very happy to help.
Okay. Can you share the email at our comments, our comment section?
Sure. Let me just, sorry. Oh yes, I'll pop that there. My email address. Oop, sorry, hang on a second. Oh, I can't figure out how to type it in, but I think I can actually see it on the screen here now. I hope everybody can see that.
Okay.
So, but it will be in the slides as well on the last slide.
We will share your slide later.
Fantastic.
Okay. Till we
That's
meet
great.
again, Elena. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you. And for
Bye-bye.
our viewers, bye-bye. And for our viewers, thank you for participating in this workshop. Please don't forget to fill the ESPER form through the link at the description or comment section. Thank you and have a nice day.